Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Carver Conservation Commission meeting of Wednesday, February 7th, 2024. We've got a pretty light agenda this evening, and we will start right off with our first discussion. Those are the bogs off Route 58 near Rochester Road, which are, looks like are being revamped. Someone here to speak on that? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Please sign in also.
Thank you very much. I'm Scott Hanula, the treasurer of Oyva Hanula and Sons, who owns that farm.
Okay. So I go to the post office every day.
Good man.
So I see it a lot. Can you just give us a description of what it is that you're doing there?
Sure. I mean, you drive by all the time.
Yeah.
You've seen that those bogs have been there for 100 or better years. They've become very unproductive. They're very soft. It's very chopped up. And what's happening now is we're actually starting to rut the bogs with our harvest gear. So now we're going to go in and renovate the bogs to a new standard, if you will. A little bit more square, less ditches, new variety, underground drain tile to help with no ditches. About the same exact amount of harvestable acreage, to be quite frank.
Okay.
We did cut down about 3/4 of an acre of trees right alongside of the driveway.
Yep.
We're going to use the material that's right there underneath where the trees were and put that out on the bog as the sand. So everything is staying on site other than the bog strippings that we've taken off.
Okay. That's what I figured. I mean, it's happening other places as well. It's just this
God,
is.
I hope so.
Yeah, this is in everyone's face.
That's
so
right.
we just wanted to make sure. So you're probably doing a new variety, a higher yield.
We are. We're buying a variety called Haynes. We're buying them locally from a propagator in Rochester. Been developed by Rutgers University about 8 or 10 years ago.
Okay.
High yielding, early variety. So with any luck, they'll be better than the heirloom early blacks that were there before.
Okay. Anyone have any questions on this?
Are they upland bogs? Are they considered upland or are they wetland bogs?
The actual bogs that we are renovating are wetlands bogs.
Okay.
And we went into the upland by the driveway after we cut the trees down.
Okay.
What we're also going to do, didn't ask, but I figured I'd offer, right against the pond, we're leaving that whole thing alone. We stripped the vines off the edge of the bog and the bog footprint itself, and we're going to make it back exactly the way it was. We have added a new dike road, access road on the north side of the property.
Okay.
So we can access a little bit better than having a very high dike next to my mother and father's house. So now we can at least access it, drive around it. We have filled in a little bit of the end on 58.
Right.
And that's going to be made up, if you will,
Replicated.
by the other end. So
Okay.
flood storage area is going to be about exactly the same.
Yeah, that area close to 58 was a very odd shape.
You're telling me.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone else have any?
I have a question.
Yes.
Yes.
So you're revamping them. So is it true? Is it you mean the type of bogs that are basically higher and require less water? Is that true?
So the cool part about what we're doing is getting rid of the surface ditches.
Yep.
We're putting subsurface drainage pipes underneath.
Okay.
So we'll be able to hold the water up higher.
I see.
So they will in fact take less water
Okay.
for overhead irrigation, and they'll be laser leveled, so they'll be flat, so they'll be taking less water for harvest and winter flood as well.
Okay, great. I was just interested because it's happening everywhere, but
Sure.
I heard things about that type of bog, so it's good to know.
Yeah, no, the cranberry plants, they need to be, used to be thought that they needed to be very wet. Well, they don't. They'd rather be dry. That's why all the ditches are there.
Okay.
So wet feet on a cranberry bog does not do them justice at all. You see the wet spots, the bald areas, that's where the rotten fruit comes from.
Okay.
So we'd rather have them a little higher, a little drier, and add the water instead of have to take it away.
Wow.
Interesting. Thanks.
You're welcome.
So there'll be no ditches at all?
Perimeter ditches.
Just perimeter?
Yep. And underneath, what the general wisdom these days is every 20 feet, we put a 4-inch perforated pipe underground, and we do that before the wet spot forms. So with any luck, we don't have a wet spot, right? Sometimes it doesn't work that way, but the good part is the ditches, those drain tiles do two things. They take the water away, which is what we're putting it there for, but we can also use them to irrigate subsurface. So we actually save water that way.
Makes harvesting a lot easier, too.
Why doesn't it? Makes the whole maintenance of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
whole
everything.
deal work so much better when we're not out jumping ditches and such like that.
Right. All right, anyone else have any other questions, comments? Well, thank you for coming in, we appreciate it.
You are very welcome, and if there's ever anything, Gary, certainly give me a buzz like
Sure.
you did
Right.
for this one, and we can
Yeah.
go from there.
Okay.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you all.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Okay, very good. Next up, it's a certificate of compliance for DEP file SC 126-615, which is phone poles or electrical poles on, off Federal Road on Hammond Street in Carver, Eversource. Come on up. We did a site visit today. Everything looked the way that the plans looked some 3 or 4 years ago when they were first submitted, so I don't think we had any problems. Anything you'd like to say?
No, just Chris Newhall here with Eversource. Kevin McCune from AECom here is my consultant. And yeah, the site visit was held today, and I don't think that there were really any questions. We built the project plan, and we're here to close out the notice of intent.
All right. We had a couple of questions on site, but they were more related to why there were so many poles and what was on each one. But those are answered. So does anybody have?
No,
since
the
we-
site's all stable, you know, it looks good, so.
It does, it looks very good. And we knew there were going to be trees cut to allow the wires to go through unimpeded out to Federal Road, so we saw that as well. Does anyone else have any other questions that they'd like to ask either one of these gentlemen? All right, that being said, I will entertain a motion to approve the COC for DEP file SE 126-615.
I move.
Ann made the motion, second?
Second.
Dave seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. It's approved unanimously. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate
Great
it.
work. Great work.
All right, next up is 187 Meadow Street discussion.
Okay, we had, in the violation letter that you had me write, we asked them to come in tonight, but they contacted me by email, which I discussed with you, and they asked to come in the first meeting in March, which Savory was okay with, but you folks still have to, you know, okay that yourselves, the other commissioners. And also, you all have this email from Brandon Costa from DEP that explains to Mr. Matsky to work with us, you know, on resolving this, so, which is, it's good to have DEP's backing.
All right, just so everyone's aware, this is the property on Meadow Street that had been filled in somewhat, that we looked at and spoke about at our last meeting. And one side note on that property, Carl Miller happened to look on Zillow or something.
Yep.
And found that the property is under contract for sale. So despite this outstanding issue, so this, just by putting this forward in this public forum, it gets it onto the radar that there is a potential enforcement order coming if the current owners do not comply with what we asked them to do when they come in on the 7th of March.
If that's the will of the commission, yes.
If that's the will of the commission.
Yep.
So
Yes, it is.
this just kind of stands as notice that there are outstanding issues with this property going forward. So they could be settled by the time the property is in fact the turnover, the closing happens. But just wanted to put it on the record. Is everyone okay with continuing this till March 6th, right?
Yeah.
6th?
Now, one thing too is, if someone does close on it before we have that meeting, I can change the address on the violation letter and just explain to those folks that, hey, this is, continued, you bought the property, this is what you have.
Right. Right, well,
Is there any way of letting them know ahead of time so they know what they're getting into? or
Well,
is that not
that's-
something-
that's the seller's responsibility, really.
Yeah.
And it's the buyer's responsibility to
Check,
investigate that. I'm sure there've got to be title searches and things like that. So by putting this on the record here tonight, it is official. It'll be on our minutes that we approved at our next meeting, and it'll be on Area 58 in a day or two. So it's out there that there is this potential issue on this property. So I think that's all that we can do. It's not our responsibility to notify any potential
I would
buyer.
imagine there'd be legal recourse for the buyer at this point.
Yes.
If he went through with it and then found out afterwards, I think there would be, I would imagine there would be
Yes,
some.
yeah, I mean, if it was hidden from him
Right.
before the purchase, yes, of course there would be. All right, so we're okay continuing to March 6th on this? Okay.
Yep.
Very good. I don't think we have to take a vote on that. We're just.
No, but
it's-
just, I had put it out there.
Okay, great. All right, next up, 17 Wareham Street. Gentlemen, we meet again.
Good evening, members of the commission. Brad Holmes with DCR and Chris Mazzalowski. I will, we had a good meeting, I believe, this afternoon, and reviewed the site conditions and the proposed relocation of the fencing, and we walked and talked. So with that, I'll bring it back to you.
Doesn't show the fence. Doesn't show the fence.
That's the, that was the first sheet,
Okay.
the
All right.
11 by 17
Oh, okay. It's in here.
following would be the,
It's in here? Oh, I see it.
it's the,
I see it. Okay.
No, I looked
the last page.
All right. Okay. I got it. All right, so do you just want to explain what your solution is here?
Sure, so
Please.
we broke it up into basically the upland portion and the wetland bog portion. The east portion near the street, we were in agreement, following what we discussed at the last meeting, was that the fencing would be moved to the 65-foot buffer zone. And then as you get around the upland bog that was created a while ago, as we documented, that the fencing would be relocated to the inside edge of that access road berm. And then, once you hit the cranberry bog area, it would be on the outer edge of the road, circle around to that little nub of upland in the western portion of the site, and then back in and along the inside of the cranberry bog, and then wrap around that upland bog area. So there'd be plenty of space to maintain the goats on the site, and they would be maintained outside of the wetland resource areas. The existing shed that's there, the pump house shed, would be maintained as is, and the shed that is in that area closest to the Wareham Street, that was just inside the 65-foot zone, as we discussed before. We were trying to keep it where we could. If we have to move it, just so it's outside the 65-foot, will do. But trying to work with the commission and take into the account the site usage, historic and the agricultural aspects of it.
Okay. We were all out there today and did a site visit. Saw the goats. Any comments from people on the board?
When was that shed put there?
The one closest to the street?
The one that he's used, yeah, the one there that's inside the 65-foot buffer zone.
Would you say a year or so? The Home Depot shed?
Probably a year or two.
It's safe to say that he didn't come in front of this commission to get permission to put inside the 65-foot zone?
Not to my recollection. Anyone else?
Yeah, there's just three things I'd like to see done, is that we have a timeline on this, particularly to make sure that the wetlands area that was kind of destroyed in there does come back. So we talked about that a little bit last time, and make sure those goats are out of there before the growing season comes in. And then so I think should be do three things. The shed should be moved, we should have a timeline. And then the third thing is when we go back, we should go back like in August sometime and check and make sure that the vegetation is coming in.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
I mean,
that's
those are
fair
three
enough.
things that I would like to see.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I agree with David. I mean, it's pretty devastated up to the
Yeah, the
riverbank,
goats
like
ate
there's
pretty
no
much
vegetation
everything.
there. So,
Yeah,
good if we could see some,
and then if the vegetation's not coming back, we'd have to some sort of wetlands restoration.
right.
That's-
Most of it should come back though, because the roots, you
Right.
know,
Right.
they didn't get down that far, and they haven't, you know, it's only been a matter of months, so.
But I don't know what kind of time, I don't know, what do you,
Well, I guess that's fair
Yeah,
enough.
what
I mean,
about-
you'd see
what-
sprouts and everything
what about
coming
getting
up.
them out of there? What's a good date for that? If he has to set those order conditions?
Well, he's gotta move the fencing, of course.
Right.
We can probably short pen them off to the side. I don't know, I mean, weather's holding, it's nice, it's gonna be 50. If the weather keeps staying like it is, I mean, he could start changing his fencing right now. The ground's not frozen.
Yeah, I don't think there's any
And-
frost in the ground at this point.
Right, and also it's before mud season, so it'd actually be to your benefit if you could move the fence posts, you know, sooner rather than later.
Do you have an idea how long that it would take you to at least, on the Wareham Street end of things, get the goats out of that, where the river is, right, you know, where your driveway hits Wareham Street?
Yeah, in the woods.
We could probably make that the priority spot. get
I would
done
think that
first,
would
yeah.
probably be the best thing to do, because that's really where we had the most concern. Everything else that you're proposing here is on existing roadways or pre-disturbed.
Right, it's ag land.
Yeah, which is less of an issue, I would think, for the members of the board. But if we can get that area fenced off from Wareham Street out to this corner here,
Yep.
right here, so that this area is protected. If we could get that done, you know, hopefully by the end of March, is that good?
Does that work for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, weather's supposed to hold. I mean, if we get major cold snaps, you know, we'll talk to you, but yeah, you should be able to do it, huh?
Yeah, as long as the weather maintains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
That fence is okay to use in the riverfront area? I know there are restrictions as far as fencing.
The fence is good, actually. It's a critter fence. It has openings big enough for animals to get through, which is what we would require anyway for someone who wanted to put a fence within
Okay.
a border.
Just
So,
wanted to
yeah,
make sure, that's all.
that's fine. The fencing material itself is fine. So am I reading that it's the flavor of the board to move the shed?
Yeah, I would like to see it moved. Oh, simple for the fact that it was never supposed to be put there in the first place.
All right, okay.
If he wants to move it back, then he'd have to, go through the procedures and.
All right. Well, our main concern at the beginning of this was the area close to the river, close to Wareham Street, where we saw all of the undergrowth being eaten. And this addresses that problem and basically moves the goats out of areas that previously had been protected. So I'm pleased with that. I will also say that we've been out at this address 4 or 5 years ago on a different matter, and there was some damage to the riverbank right at the northern part of that old bog. And we asked the applicant just to let it grow back, and it has, relatively quickly and healthy. So I assume that the same thing will happen everywhere, once we get the goats out of there. I expect
should.
that if not this spring, then certainly by next spring, it'll
Right.
almost be invisible that it's happened. So
Plus the goats have fertilized the area pretty well. So.
Yes, that's true. You may have things growing places you don't want it, but, other than that, I think this is a good solution. It allows the goats a lot of room, but most of it is in areas that's already been disturbed, which is agricultural in use, so that's fine. So I'm happy with that. So I guess we would take a vote to probably 2 votes. One, that we don't have to go any further with this, that the discussion that we've had tonight is fine. And then we'll just vote to, order of conditions, which would be following the plan and moving the shed. So I'll accept a motion to have this evening's discussion be the final word on this based on the order of conditions that we'll vote on in a minute. Movement?
So moved.
All right.
Second.
All right. Carl made the motion. Dave made the second. Did you get what the motion was? Okay. That's fine. That'll work. All right. I was going to ask you to read it back to me because I have no idea what I said.
So
All right,
just so I'm clear,
Yeah.
so as long as that shed is outside of the 65, he can put it anywhere where it's previously disturbed area,
Yes.
right?
Yes, anywhere within the fenced
Okay,
area.
just so when I write this up.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
All right, so we have a motion to end the discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hearing, any opposed? Hearing none, it's approved unanimously. Now I'll entertain a motion to have our conservation agent issue a order of conditions, which would include maintaining the fenced area as per the plan dated January 23rd, 2024, and also with the condition of moving the shed outside of the 65-foot buffer zone anywhere within the fenced area that is outside the 65 feet.
So moved.
And then, what about a timeline? Like March, have everything done by the end of March? Or that
Well,
scenario?
okay, we can put that in, that the area between the northernmost,
Or the eastern area on this map?
the eastern area,
Yeah.
the eastern 20%, that the fence be moved by March 31st.
Okay.
And the balance,
Well, with that, the goats will be.
The goats will be moved.
yeah.
It doesn't make sense to move.
If they're on the other side, they might be in your yard, so.
Is there a hard date in March, or is it just March?
March 31st.
31st?
Yeah, end of March. And then the balance, you can get to, as long as the goats are out of that
Yeah,
area.
as long as you're showing you're moving forward.
Yeah. So those would be the 3 conditions.
And we'll keep an eye on the vegetation to make sure it comes back
Yeah.
as time progresses. I'll put that in there too.
Right.
Just so he has it.
Yeah,
So
we-
what this will do, when I write this letter, then, it'll pull that enforcement order off.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So anyway, Carl made the motion, Dave seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. It's approved.
Thank
You're
you
good
So
to
very
you
go.
much.
guys are in
Thank you both.
agreement with all those?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Thanks for working with us.
All right, thank you both.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
All right, next up, 34 Bates Pond Road discussion.
Almost.
Easy now, easy now. That was the trees that we...
Oh, the trees.
Yes.
That's the trees we went and looked at.
All right. Guy wants to cut down all the trees between his house and Bates Pond, saying that they're a danger to his home. There was one certainly, and there was an oak that was very close to his house.
Yeah, right off the deck.
That could have been, the other oak, which was larger, possibly,
Yeah, there's a limb that,
yeah.
yeah.
I think we should keep that other oak. I mean, there's that one pine tree that didn't look too healthy either, next to that smaller oak, but those two, maybe. But, yeah.
There was also a very, very tall pine
Yeah.
in that group.
Right.
And that just knowing how we had different winds this year than we've ever had this winter. We had winter storms with southern winds. And I know in my property, I had 5 tall trees snap about 40 feet high. So my feeling is, and we looked today and looked at all the trees. My feeling is that that we let them take. My feeling is, and I'm not bound to this, that we let them take the tall pine tree down, the very large one, the biggest girth, and the 2 oaks. But I'm willing to say keep the larger oak that's farther away from the house, if that's what the board would like to do.
Keep as much you can there,
Okay.
And that one's actually going towards
Towards the pond anyway.
Yeah,
Okay.
all right.
Oaks tend to root down a little bit different.
And that's true, too.
And
Pine
they're
trees are
stronger,
very
too.
surfaced.
And they're not gonna break in the winter because they have no foliage on them.
Exactly. So
I think the small oak and the pine tree is fine with me.
So 2 trees,
Yeah,
the
2
the biggest
2
pine
trees.
and the oak by the deck, okay.
And Chairman, the biggest pine, was that in the line?
It was sort of in the middle of all of
In the
them.
middle of all
Was
of
it
them, but
between the
still
2
near
oaks,
the...
Ken?
It was
In a sense.
yeah, it was closer to the bigger oak.
It was closer to the
right.
bigger
Okay,
oak.
okay.
But it was much, much taller than the other
It
ones
didn't look
around
that
it.
healthy anyway, it didn't have a lot of needles on it, so I was thinking that maybe that might be a good one.
Right, but it also was standing up taller than the
If
ones
you guys
around
went
it.
out the way I went out, down by
Right.
the playground, you'd see that house on the corner that had the closest access to the pond.
Mhm.
They actually had a tree come down on their house. It's all cut up and topped over the roof and stuff. so-
Ah,
Yeah, that little house.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably why this guy's got a little concerned.
Yeah. I don't blame him.
But I think, he expressed that oak right near the, I think what you're suggesting is addressing his primary concerns.
Yes,
He did say like the
I do too.
ones near the house and,
Yeah.
right. Well, in a situation like this where people want to take down a lot of trees because they think it is a danger to their home, we can allow them to do that if they plant other trees in their place. So, that aren't going to fall on the house for another 90 years.
Right, right.
The next guy's problem.
Yeah, not ours.
Pretty much.
Next 2 guys.
Yeah, so, we always have that option, but those, other than the really tall pine, the other ones were probably 40 or 50 years old, so.
Yeah.
And they were,
They look good.
Well, he
all
can,
the-
he can come in for those down the road if they start getting
Yeah, but all the-
scraggly
If
or...
they start to look like they're gonna be a problem, sure.
all the foliage on those were on the lakeside.
Yeah.
All the weight was on the lakeside.
They're
on
all
those.
leaning towards the lake too.
Yeah,
they-
yeah.
It
Okay,
would
so
take a
2
pretty good
trees
wind to
then.
blow 'em on the house.
2
I'll-
trees.
I'll shoot him
yes.
an email,
Yeah, the
okay.
oak that's closest to the
And
porch.
the biggest pine.
And the largest pine.
Yep.
That's there.
Okay.
All right, everyone good with that?
Yep.
All right. We will get to our minutes afterwards. Now, new public hearing. 276 Meadow Street. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, MGL Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Carver Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Citation 9.2, that a public hearing will be held at 7:00 p.m. on Wednesday, February 7th, 2024, in Meeting Room Number 1 at the Carver Town Hall to hear the notice of intent submitted by Barbara L. Spalding for the construction of a single-family dwelling, portion of a septic system, driveway, grading, landscaping, well, and its water line, and associated utility work within the 100-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. Some of the project work is also within the 65-foot buffer zone protected under the Carver Wetlands Protection Bylaw and will require a variance from the bylaw. This project is located at 276 Meadow Street, Carver, Massachusetts, Assessors Map 85, Lot 100-1-R. All interested parties are invited to attend. Good evening.
Yes, good evening. John Bracken from Bracken Engineering. I'm a professional engineer and professional land surveyor, representing the applicant, who's also here tonight, Barbara Spalding. Before I get started, I noticed in the reading of the ad, you mentioned something about a variance to the regulations. I wasn't aware of the variance. I thought the 65-foot setback was only to structures.
No, the 65-foot variance is any alteration at all. It was passed at town meeting this past April and is listed on the website, on both the conservation website and on the town clerk's website. It hasn't been placed on all of the bylaws as a unit have not been put on the website yet because we don't have Attorney General approval for one of the items.
Okay.
But it has been posted on conservation and on the town clerk's website, that these are the bylaws that were passed that are in effect as of now. And it has been since August.
Okay, thank
All
you. Yep. Okay, as we reviewed in the field, this is a 1.6 acre lot with frontage on both Meadow Street and Bates Pond Road. An acre of the lot is upland and about 0.6 acres is wetland. The BVW line that's shown on the plan was approved back in January 2022 as flagged by Sebacia Environmental. The property does not fall within a priority or estimated habitat area, does not fall within a flood zone, and the wetland itself connects to Bates Pond, making it the BVW. What we're proposing is a single-family dwelling on the lot with a well that's going to be located towards Meadow Street. House with a septic system, standard septic system. A small portion of the septic system will be within the 100-foot buffer. The soil absorption system will be outside the 100-foot buffer. The house will be on a crawl space foundation, thereby limiting the amount of excavation as opposed to a full foundation. The closest point between the wetland and the house is 65.2 feet. The septic system is a standard septic system, as I already mentioned. As we saw in the field visit, moderate grading is proposed around the back of the house. The limit of the work will be delineated with standard erosion control consisting of a Filtrex sock system. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, members of the board, questions?
I don't know if it's a question, but it's a statement. It just seems like I know it's not necessarily your problem, but you're shoehorning this house in here, pretty tight. And we've never, as a board, allowed a house to be built completely within the 100-foot buffer. So that it seems to be, for us, it's kind of an issue on this site. The whole site basically is within the 100-foot buffer. Except for that little tiny corner where the septic system is. I don't know what else.
I agree with you 100%. You're just trying too hard to shoehorn a house. I mean, I imagine you actually designed the house to fit the lot,
Yes, that was the case.
Yeah.
The grading comes within about 45 feet of the edge of the wetland also.
Yeah.
It's
going to be substantially disturbed,
It's
even
just
though
very-
it's even temporarily, it's going to be disturbed.
It's just very, very tight.
Yes.
And the house itself is coming right up on the 65
Yeah, it's
foot.
like touching the 65.
Yeah. So virtually you'll be able to do nothing on the backside of this house at all. You won't have a yard.
No yard.
And my feeling is, and not necessarily the homeowner that wants to build a house, but down the road, we have to think down the road, as people start to encroach into the wetlands, what's to stop them? You know what I mean? They just add a little bit, add a little bit, add a little bit, and before you know it, they're right against the border.
I think we could pull that grading closer to the house. We could also propose maybe something, a fence or something to delineate, permanently protect that area from being encroached upon. Any encroachment would be in violation, obviously, so I think it could be controlled in that manner. It's a 3-bedroom septic design, which is the minimum size, for Title V. We might be able to reduce that down to 2 feet, and 2 bedrooms, and push things a little further away by reducing the size of the field. We also could flip-flop maybe. Well, no, we couldn't because of the zoning setbacks, but that, the house is where it is, a combination of the septic system and the zoning setback. So We could also-
Did you try to go to zoning for relief?
No,
from the
no,
50-foot
no, we
setback?
haven't, but if we had to, because of the situation and the recommendation from this commission, then we would certainly attempt that.
I mean,
But even if you went to zoning, you still have to do something with the septic.
right, I'm not entirely
This-
comfortable with the septic being in there.
This
either.
septic system, what is it, stone and pipe?
Yes.
Is there a smaller footprint system you could possibly use instead of,
If we were to reduce the number of bedrooms, from
Yeah.
like 3 to 2, which is, certainly not out of the question. But the house location is really based on that front setback of 50 feet and the side setback of 30 feet, so.
Yeah, I understand why you want to do it, and
Yeah.
I sort of sympathize with it, but I don't, some lots just aren't really buildable. I don't know.
There's no room to even like try to maneuver around
not
or
much.
anything. There's
No.
barely.
no, he's pretty much
Yeah,
maneuvered.
yeah, that's about it.
I agree with Dave, I'm not comfortable with that whole thing being inside the 100-foot zone.
It's just a precedent that we'd set, and I think it would be something that everybody would come back to us on this thing.
I mean, just so I'm clear, obviously, we're here because we're working within the 100-foot zone, so would anybody else. So is the policy of the commission not to allow anything within the 100-foot zone? Has that kind of been the precedent, or?
The precedent is that we have asked other builders who have come before us to adjust the location of their building to get as much of it out of the 100-foot zone as possible. We've had, there are a lot of new homes on Indian Street, and a lot of them have been, their orientation has been changed to keep them out of the 100-foot buffer zone. In some cases, a house was flipped 180 degrees so that the garage on a slab was within a corner of it in the 100-foot, as opposed to a house that had a basement. That was a better solution for us, and with a gravel driveway. So we try to make sure that that more than 50% of any structure is outside the 100-foot. And as far as the 65-foot is concerned, that is an absolute no-touch zone, and that was approved last year at town meeting by 72% of the voters. And we have received from our town council, we asked the question proactively a while ago because we knew situations like this would be coming up. And you had mentioned putting a fence in, and that fence would have to be at the 65-foot line with no disturbing between that and the wetlands. No lawn, no entry, no kids playing, nothing. It just, they'd
be better off, to match our no alter, put a retaining wall along that back corner instead of grading.
That's true too. Now,
But you'd have to pop the fence if, it, was allowed on top of that.
this lot has a lot of frontage on Meadow Street and goes down. The whole lot here is the L shape, correct?
Correct, yeah.
So I'm wondering about replication. Replicating the wetland along the Meadow Street side so that you could change the wetland delineation closer to the house.
You mean
Yes.
fill in this area to create a buffer?
Yes,
And then
to
replicate it
move,
over
yes, to move the buffer away from the house. Keep the house where it is, move the buffer by taking the wetlands out there and replicating it along Meadow Street, square foot for square foot.
You get up to 5,000 square feet, right? That you can do.
Yeah, that is absolutely something we could look at as, as an alternative, but I would, if that's been done in the past, then.
It has been.
Yeah, then we certainly could take a look at that. Otherwise, that could be the only option to get this, or substantially reduce the size of the structure
60.
and maintain that 65-foot buffer.
Right.
Or maybe a combination of the two.
It could be.
Yeah.
Or maybe you could go to zoning
And maybe get a little relief from zoning.
From those guys. and see
Yeah.
what, and maybe be able to make your septic a little smaller or something, I don't know. But that would work.
Yeah, that's, I
Yeah.
mean, your septic's taking up a lot of the frontage there.
It's
I'm not- I don't know
It's
what-
basically taking up the buildable part of the lot.
Yeah, well, ironically though, it's, even though it looks big on this, with the 50-foot setback, it does give us the room to do it.
Right,
but
and I understand why
I
you
don't
put it
think it would
there.
hurt to make it smaller if that's an option that would,
Right.
you know.
I get why you put it there. It's
Yeah.
just,
So David, you're saying if would 50% of the house getting out of there, we'd be happy with that?
Yes, and that, moving the 100 would also move the 65-foot, and that would allow for some kind of a backyard or.
If they were
or-
able to replicate that.
If they filled right along here and there, you're looking at maybe 3,000 square feet tops. That'd give a lot of relief,
I was thinking, I was thinking more
just like that. Yeah, and up it right up into there.
I was thinking if you would take this area, including this, that would remove this bump here, so you can move the house back a little bit,
Okay.
all right? So I'm thinking instead of, because here you're okay. If you were to have this go like across here, you could move the house back. Keep your septic, move the house back and get rid of these two bumps. If you were to able to keep this 100-foot line going through the center of the house here,
Okay, that's a good suggestion. And this is the area that was
So what is
disturbed.
it, so it basically the wetlands moves towards,
you would replicate wetlands along
Wetlands
here.
along
You would
there.
expand the wetlands down here since this is in your property.
Right.
And it's a one-for-one
Right.
square foot thing.
right,
So basically, instead of making the house smaller or moving the house, you're moving the wetlands away from the house.
yeah, that makes sense, because I mean, that's not being utilized at all, that,
Right.
that
Yeah.
part of the property. It's,
Yeah, so if that's something you could take a look at, I think, based on what we've said as a board, you kind of understand the things that we're looking for.
Okay.
Or do a combination, go to zoning and ask them if they can give you some relief.
Zoning, maybe a smaller house, and replication. It could be a
Right.
combination of all
Maybe you can get it
three.
in there somehow, I mean.
So that's what I think we would all like you to look at. Because
Okay.
we'd like to have the house certainly farther away from the 65, and I think from the standpoint of livability, you would probably want that as well. Having a fence right up against the corner of your house that you can't go on the other side of is probably not ideal. And that would, by doing it that way, you could probably get a good portion of the house outside of the 100 as well. All right, so I would suggest that you take a look at those options. All right?
We will, yeah.
So how long do you think it'll take you? We're not meeting we don't have anything for the 21st of February, so we're not planning on meeting then. Our next meeting is the 6th of March.
Why don't we take that, and we probably won't have finalized plans, but we'll have something to come back and discuss,
Okay.
before we get, to any
Right,
type of
yeah,
replication.
like a draft or-
plan.
Yeah,
a
before
rough
you
draft.
hardline it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
So,
fine.
Say March 6th?
Wednesday, March 6th, 4 weeks from tonight.
Okay.
All right? So
Yeah, that's fine.
I'll entertain a motion to continue this hearing until March 6th.
I'll second.
All right? It's been moved and seconded to continue the hearing on 276 Meadow Street until Wednesday, March 6th. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none? Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Very much.
All right. Okay, what did I do with my agenda? Here it is. Okay. Did everyone get a chance to read the minutes?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. I will, did anybody have any corrections?
I didn't see any.
I didn't either. All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes for January 17th.
So moved. I'll second.
All right. Curtis made the motion, Carl seconded. It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes for January 17th as written. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. That's approved unanimously. All right, under topics not reasonably anticipated by the chairman, this afternoon at 1:30, I had a meeting with our town planner, John Woods from the DPW, Sarah Hewins, who's from the Select Board and was a former conservation agent here and is the chairman of the Conservation Stewards Commission in town.
Trails.
And also,
The trails.
Trails and Stewards, yeah, thank you. And Bob Fennessy. We've been asked by SERPED, the Southeastern Regional Planning and Economic Development Group, to kind of give an overview of each of our open spaces in town, of which we have a lot. And you know, give its current condition, what its potential uses are, who owns it, who's responsible for it, et cetera. And there was a long chart. It was probably 80 to 100 parcels of land that we had to go through. A lot of them are in the Great Cedar Swamp, which nothing can happen with. However, we got to the Griffith property on Indian Street, which abuts the cranberry bog that we looked at a couple of weeks ago, where they're digging out the sand behind it and around it. And Sarah, you know, obviously the owners are going to be taking that out of 61A at some point, and the town has right of first refusal to purchase that, and at fair market value. And Sarah asked if we had, meaning our board, had approached the Community Preservation Commission about getting money to buy it. And I said, no, we haven't really discussed it. I would like to put this on our agenda for March 7th. I don't know if when a P&S is going or when they're going to come in front of whoever they need to get rid of the 61A. But I'd like everyone to think about this, think if it's something that we want to try to do. I'm of the opinion it's too late to do anything with CPC funding.
I'm going to go ahead and agree with you on that, because
Okay.
I think the CPC, the meeting for the warrant articles is at the beginning of March. I think it might even be March 7th,
Okay.
to be honest with you. So I know the town planner did present in front of CPC about the possibility of having a warrant article about allotting funding from the CPC into a fund that he could pull from if a situation like this arose again, like
Okay.
happened off of right down the street on 58 here.
Right.
Just to have some money that they could spend, they don't have to go to town meeting for.
Okay.
They could,
It's a good idea.
It is.
I don't know if it's gonna make it to, Tom, he wasn't sure that he was gonna be able to get it ready for that meeting, but it was something he was thinking about working on.
All right.
Speaking of that, do we have a CPC meeting the same day as this meeting?
No, Thursday, probably the 7th. The
yeah,
7th is Thursday.
I don't remember exactly, hold on, I'll just. look it up.
CPC usually meets on Thursdays.
I know, but they want to have a public hearing.
It's
because of-
it's their yearly public hearing one, so.
Oh,
It might be, I hope it's not a conflict in this meeting.
In the meantime, do we have details on this lot?
CPC is March 7th,
that's
Yeah,
a
it's the
Thursday.
same.
that's a Thursday.
No, we're the 6th.
Oh, 6th, okay, 6th.
Yeah, it's leap
Right,
year.
Right, yeah, sorry.
So we add a date.
All right,
So
thank you.
so it's the next day. Do
So
you,
details, do we have
no,
how much property it is, or,
no,
no?
no.
But it's adjoining the existing conservation land.
It's adjoining, it used to be, the former
Butts.
Griffith property, it's
Right.
it's the Buzzards Bay Coalition property.
Yeah, but,
Yeah, it abuts that.
Just to be clear, he was talking about using low-income housing funds, not the affordable housing funds of CPC, not open space.
Right,
I just want to make sure that was clear.
right, okay. That lot probably does not lend itself to affordable housing.
Right.
As much as the Lakeview corner lots
Correct,
would
yes.
have. So this would probably be open space funding, and I know, having been to a number of CPC meetings, that an awful lot of money has been allotted to open space, and there's a little bit of pushback on,
I can tell you with fair certainty that there is no available open space funding. Anything that would have to come from the general pot, which
Right.
is, you can use for anything, so.
right, but things have been taken from that for open space already.
Yes,
Quite a bit.
yes,
Including the football fields, I believe,
and the pickleball court.
and the pickleball court, all right.
And actually, I believe the bonding is coming out from the football field. This comes out of that CP.
Yeah, that's what the football
yeah,
field, yeah.
Every year until
Yeah.
it's paid off,
Yes, another 5 years,
something like that.
something
yeah.
like that. Okay.
Well, it's probably good to do it well in advance, because we have 120 days, right? If somebody's gonna take something out of 61A, we have.
Right.
Right,
Right, but any CPC funding has to happen at town
the
meeting.
town meeting, right.
So I don't see us being able to get this done by then.
The
Right.
Frankly.
deadline is March 9th.
Hmm?
The deadline is March 9th
For-
town meeting stuff.
I know, but we have to get it in front of CPC
No, that's what I'm saying.
and then have that public hearing and present it, and we've, having dealt with the CPC before on other issues, Union Church, for instance, I know the timeline starts in October. That's when you make your first presentation, and and my personal opinion is that I don't see the value in having that.
The value in buying that
In
property for
having
the
that,
town.
yeah. You know, if that's going to cost X amount of dollars, I think that, and it's going to be split into two lots, it's two buildable lots,
So it'd be like $400,000.
it could be 300, 400.
Easily.
Easily, yeah.
And you're gonna have to, there's gonna be a little bit of restoration going on, because
Yeah.
that's an extremely disturbed site.
Yeah, and, you know, frankly, if, I think that there are probably going to be better opportunities coming up that, for more valuable properties that, from a conservation standpoint. Than
The nice
that.
thing, though, if there's a budding, it is kind of nice.
Yeah, but, you know, with the Griffith property abuts the Carver conservation property on the other side,
Right.
which is large.
Right.
You know, it goes all the way back behind Alexandra Lane and all the way out to 58, by where Lakeview comes in.
Right.
It's a big property. So, anyway, just think about it. We'll put it on the agenda. We'll come up with some ideas and see if we want to move forward with trying to do anything.
Right.
You know, if we could possibly talk to if we decided it's something we want to do, we could talk to the owner and say, can you hold on to it for a year? Yeah, we don't, I mean, he's not beholding to do that, but it's something we could ask. So anyway, just think about it, and we'll talk about it on March 6th. All right? Anybody have anything else?
The next meeting, February meeting, I don't have anything
Right.
on the books right now. Do you wanna
Yeah.
cancel it?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have to vote on that?
No, because we never posted it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. It's up to you guys.
That's fine.
Yeah, no, we don't need a vote.
Okay.
No. All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right. Motion is made by Carl, seconded by Curtis to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. We're out. Thank you, Area 58.